big star out of me. They'll make a film about a man who's sad and lonely, and all they gotta do is act naturally. Well, I'll bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star.
Hello and welcome to me, the Bob
Take two.
Welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II. I can't even talk.
Zane, it may come down to you and me this week. You want to do? Why don't you do the intro? You can't do any worse than Noel just did.
Now. Noel, come back to you.
Go for it.
All right.
Oh
welcome
my gosh.
To Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II, hanging out with Sean Spencer, psychic detective. It's all of that chaos and that psychic energy that's messing me up. So, man, Sean, welcome. Good to have you.
Thanks. I'm going to have to Google him. You stumped me this time.
Great TV show, Psych.
Great TV show.
Oh, Psych.
Wonderful
Okay,
TV
I know who you're
show.
talking
Yeah,
about.
Sean Spencer.
I didn't watch it regularly, but I know
And
what
it was
you're talking
awesome.
about. It is Zane, right? I said Zane. Zach?
I did say Zane.
Zeus? I don't know.
Yeah, Zane Gray's back. Zane
You've been here before, right?
I think so.
I don't know.
Zane
Douglas, I
survived the
remember,
wedding.
I'm not sure.
He survived a wedding recently.
We both
decided to hang
survived the
around.
wedding.
Yeah, we did. It was
Congratulations.
I wasn't the one getting
Oh,
married.
okay.
Yeah, but it was like 99 degrees outside, and
It was 100 degrees in those suits.
Yeah, and you know, but we do it for friends. We do things like that. We sacrifice for friends.
You have to.
So Christian Jessup.
You don't want to, but you have to.
You have to.
Christian Jessup, a former co-host here,
He
got
was on
married
here too?
over the weekend.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Christian Jessup. Hope things are going well in St. Lucia. Did I say that right?
You
St. Lucia?
said St. Lucia.
Lucia.
St.
Lucia.
Lucia.
I was thinking he was going to Disney.
That makes
would've-
sense.
That would
Disney
make
World sounds like a
sense.
better package deal.
Yeah.
That would have made sense. I mean, why not? But he didn't. He didn't do it.
I don't know how romantic Disney World is, though.
It's probably hotter down there.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah, it's
Well,
awful. in
we
the
are going
summer.
to talk about Disney today. We're going to talk about some coming-of-age films today, and we're also going to talk about a film that's been around for ages, or at least a story that's been around for ages. That would be Aladdin. We're going to talk about Brightburn, and we're also going to talk about Booksmart and maybe a few other things. This is Meet Me at the Movies. We talk movies every week, and Tim Foster back on the Tim Cam. He's the one that makes sure everything happens. We appreciate him. Well,
He's married too.
Oh, you got married. Hey, I'm glad you got married again.
It's,
Good- no, no.
that's old news.
Oh, it's old. You are married. You've been married.
He's just in a good mood. It's summer. It's
Yeah.
warm outside,
It's too
hot.
warm. It hasn't rained in like
yeah.
weeks.
And Elvis is still hanging out with him.
The
He likes
downside
that.
about Tim in summer is he doesn't wear pants, and he wears a Speedo to work every day. It makes for a
No, sit
No,
down.
sit
Stop,
down, sit
stop,
down, sit
stop.
down, sit down, sit
I don't want to watch. I don't want
Nobody
to.
wants to see
it makes for a long summer for me at least.
That is Greg Tillman over there beside camera one. Welcome back. We know you were out last week because you just didn't want to be here.
I didn't want to be
Yeah,
here.
what gave
I was
you?
not in a good mood. I had some issues I had to
Yeah,
contend with.
and so they're not even.
I had
taken
more
care of?
important things to do, as do most viewers.
And you still have more important things to do, but yet you
yeah,
found a
no,
way.
this is a break.
We appreciate
I
it.
need a break. I know you
Appreciate it.
don't.
Well, a lot to talk about, Zane. We're glad you're back.
Glad you're back.
Congratulations on graduation,
Thank
which
you.
you had recently as well.
And we didn't think he could do it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I had more faith in him than you did.
Because I know Noel more.
But Zane is going to be coming back some this summer if he wants to and is able to
Good.
find a place to stay
Of course I want to.
He's
overnight.
not staying with me, but I mean, he's welcome back on the show.
I don't
Well,
like this attitude you're having
Well,
here.
let's dive in and talk movies because that is why we're here. Let's talk about this movie, Aladdin. This film, based on a folktale story that first appeared in the early 1700s.
Oh,
Oh, wow, I didn't
And
know
it was
Is it one of the Grimm's tales?
No, it was this French writer and German writer came upon this Syrian folklore tale, and they translated it, but they had never found it written down anywhere. It was just kind of these oral stories that were told. Throughout the years, there have been numerous adaptations into songs, into TV series, films, tons of films, and even spin-offs of storylines from TV shows. Disney took this to life in the early 1990s with Aladdin, with a musical version with Robin Williams as the genie in the bottle, with just some incredibly memorable songs. And here we are again with Disney coming back and doing it with a live action version, of course with some CGI as well.
A lot of CGI.
Will Smith is the genie this time. Guy Ritchie directed this, known for his great action films. And here he is, taking this story of this poor thief who gets a chance to become a prince. That's basically the storyline, but the story is really much deeper than that, and we'll talk about what the story is really about. But Zane, dive in with some of your thoughts on Aladdin. You've seen it twice.
I've seen it twice. I was very iffy knowing Guy Ritchie's style, because I was really iffy on him doing the King Arthur movie that came out a couple years ago, and so I sat in and watched it, and I typically check my preconceived notions with any movie that I see, and honestly,
check your baggage at the door.
Yeah, absolutely, as everyone should. Greg.
Yeah. What?
What's your point of him?
No,
I can leave again, just like.
Listen, it's my turn.
Or he can leave.
Listen, my time to shine. I walked in this movie kind of iffy, just Guy Ritchie, not saying he's not a competent director, and honestly, seeing it twice, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's able to, Guy Ritchie's style didn't distract me in any way. I think it seamlessly blended in. I think the musical notes are great. I think Mina Massoud and Naomi Scott are terrific in this movie. And Will Smith, in all seriousness, I think was absolutely brilliant. He didn't do a Robin Williams impression.
That would have to be a tough act to follow.
He did such a great job of doing something that I think can offer new generations a new genie while creating his own and not doing a Robin Williams knockoff.
That's what I loved about it, because it would be so easy to try to mimic what Williams did as the genie, but Will Smith, as you said, he made it his own, which really was tough to do, but he did it quite well.
And Mina Massoud, I've never seen this guy ever. It kind of reminded me when I saw Daisy Ridley in Star Wars Force Awakens. I had never seen her before, and he was really good, but Naomi Scott, I think, really, knowing that she's an actual singer, she has one original song. I'm not going to give anything away, but it really, truly floored me in terms of how great her vocals can get, in terms of how range it can get.
Yeah, you'll find some songs from the original films in this, but you'll also find, I think, 3 original numbers in this film, including one that you weren't going to go there, but I am, because the song is going to be getting an Oscar nomination.
You think so?
It's called Speechless. I think it's definitely going to get an Oscar nomination, because it speaks a lot to what's happening with the character and within the story, and for this particular time. This generation that we're living in, I think the song speaks volumes as well. So I think that's going to get some Oscar buzz. I'm giving it right now some Oscar buzz. I thought the movie was well acted. I thought the editing was great.
I thought the visuals were great.
The visuals were wonderful. The production design, I mean, you felt like you were in the ancient Middle East. And the villain was wonderful. This sorcerer who was thirsting for
some
evil
people were
power.
iffy on how I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name who played Jafar, but I liked what they did with him in this movie. Kind of differing from how he was handled in the animated movie, but I really enjoyed just his arc in this movie.
Yeah, there were some great dance numbers and some great stunts in this film as well. I was really, really blown away, and again, I think Will Smith did a wonderful job. My one drawback to this, and really my only drawback to this, is it was too long. 2 hours, 8 minutes long, and it was a little sluggish at the beginning, but it was setting up a lot of stuff. But that was my one drawback, and I think when you're trying to reach young audiences, families as well, but especially the kids, you've got to find a way to do
That's a long
this.
time to keep a
It's
kid
a long
in
time.
a seat.
Yeah, and when I saw it, it was with a audience full that had quite a few kids, and some of them were just kind of, you could see they were getting worn out. They were getting worn down, and they kind of lost their attention, but the parents were engrossed, and it really was just a beautiful musical. Go ahead.
So Guy Ritchie, I'm like you, not my first choice to do a Disney
It wasn't,
movie.
yeah, me too.
So was there a big body count? I mean,
Well,
there is peril in action in this movie, but it's not as like Lock, Stock, or Snatch, or the Sherlock Holmes movies. Or,
but he pulled it off okay.
Oh yeah,
he did. He really did. Again, he wasn't. I mean, he's a very talented director, but he wasn't my first choice for him to do an Aladdin movie.
Yeah.
But they saw something. I mean, they saw something in him, and it worked. It paid off. The movie made quite a bit for its debut weekend, and
Number one?
I'm sorry?
Was it
number one?
When Memorial Day, I think it's just over 111 million.
Yeah, so it did very well, and it will have some longevity. It is one that's worth multiple viewings. A- for me for Aladdin, the live action version.
I will second that opinion as an A- as well.
Okay, good deal. So Aladdin still in theaters. There's another film you and I got a chance to check out. This is kind of that what-if film. Brightburn is the name of this film because it takes place in a place called Brightburn, Kansas.
Is that a real place?
I don't know if it's a real place or not. I did not. We've got to get our R&D guy. Tim, would you get on Google and check that out? Yeah, he's going to do that right now. Yeah, he's gonna do that right now.
He's faking it.
But it's an origin story of this coming of age boy. He's 12 years old, and he's living in this little small town, Kansas. And he was found by his parents, John and Martha Kent. No, wait a minute.
No,
that's a whole other
movie.
story.
No.
Wait, that's a
Wrong
whole
movie.
other story. But it does have parallels to the Superman origin story intentionally. And yeah, there is this kid that crashes in this spacecraft, and he's raised by this family on this farm, and at around 12 years old, the kid discovers he has powers. So the story question is, will he use these powers for good or evil? And it's pretty early on in the movie that you realize, I'm not giving anything away because the trailers give it away, that the kid's got some evil intent.
Yeah.
He's got some evil intent.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for this movie, and at first I thought this was just going to be some Superman just rip off or just knock off, like, oh, I know what this is going to be. But just the what if part of it really made me ponder, like, what other movies are there that are this classic?
Absolutely.
That you could use this idea for, like, what if Dorothy didn't do this from Wizard of Oz? Like, what if, like, putting a horror angle to it?
Yeah.
That, like, what if Charlie didn't get that last ticket from Willy Wonka? So, I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of things. I really like this movie. James Gunn didn't direct it. I know he produced it.
Right, yeah, Brian and Mark Gunn involved in the story and the directing of this.
Okay, and I like Elizabeth Banks in this movie. I've always liked Elizabeth Banks. She's most notably known for comedy roles, so to see her in a more, I don't know, serious, dramatic role. I like I like how small it was. It was only a $6 million movie. I think it did decent at the box office.
Around 20 million for opening weekend if you're talking about worldwide.
I'm not finding a Brightburn, Kansas.
Okay.
Okay, so it doesn't exist.
So thanks, Tim, for texting that to Greg. Appreciate that.
Wait, huh?
But yeah,
During the show.
around 20 million for the opening weekend. There is talk about potential sequels.
See,
and you can see that there's a possibility for potential sequels through the end credits.
but it's like, it's the same thing I talked to your son about it when we saw it on Thursday. It almost reminded
I
me
have
of...
a son.
You do have a son.
What? Okay.
Anywho, that's not the moral of the story.
At least one.
It's kind of like A Quiet Place, not on the same caliber of quality, but in the sense that you just want to follow the same kid terrorize another town, or the same thing for A Quiet Place, don't want to see the same family survive throughout these months. I don't know, like, I feel like it kind of, I could see where you could do, because I feel like where he came from is very interesting. Just that whole space shuttle that he came in, and like the signs that were in the movie, like the triangle-looking thing was really cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot of mythology that I think they could explore.
But there's also in the sequel, there's a question that you're left pondering, and this is something early on. You're like, okay, if he came to Earth and he's got these superpowers, are there others?
Right.
And I think that's where a sequel could take you, is are there others, and do they have evil intent as well? I think that's where it could take you. I thought that the casting was well done, as you mentioned, Elizabeth Banks. I thought it was a small cast, decent effects. It is an
for a
R-rated.
small budget.
I'm sorry?
No, for a small budget, yeah, it had very good effects.
Yeah, R-rated film for violence, for language, and some very gratuitous, gross out scenes. Let me just say
I'll
that.
say there's some brutal stuff in it.
Oh,
from what I
yeah.
understand.
It's a lot more violent than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and there were, to me, that was one of the issues I had with it. Some of the deaths were too violent, and they didn't need to be that violent.
Is this rated R?
Yes,
Rated R.
rated R.
Yeah, rated R. Language all over the place, and I did mention like over the top, gratuitous, and just a couple of scenes, particularly. I'm like, yeah, they didn't need to go there. They didn't need to go there. But and at times I did find that some of the character chemistry felt like it was lacking, because you've got this mother and father that are realizing this kid is kind of going off the deep end, and the way they approached it felt a little awkward and odd to me. And that was just my impressions on that. I felt that the characters and that acting kind of lacked the engagement for believability within that particular storyline. But still, I thought the movie was the right length. I think it was just a little over an hour and a half.
Just at an hour and a half, yeah.
It was,
And that's fine, right?
Yeah. I thought it was lengthwise was pretty good. I gave it a B-. I thought it was good, but not great. I had a few issues with it, but I gave it a B-.
I'm gonna go a little bit higher, just a B, just a solid B.
Okay, good deal.
I am excited to see this. I mean, I know the reviews are kind of mixed, but of all the blockbusters coming out this summer, this isn't a blockbuster, of course. But I'm excited. The premise just sounds kind of fascinating.
It's counter programming, and I think it's great to have one of those around Aladdin and Godzilla coming up. So
We're going to take an intermission. Greg Tillman over there drinking some something or another.
Where's my
I'm
drink?
out.
He's
Where's my
drinking
drink,
ice.
Greg?
Ask
drinking
Tim. He
ice.
brought it to me.
Tim, give me a drink.
Yep, and that's he's going to do
kind
that.
of demanding,
That is
isn't
Tim
it,
on the
Tim?
Tim Cam. Zane Gray over here on camera 2, and I'm Noel Manning II. We're going to take an intermission right here on Meet Me at the Movies. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hi, I'm Jackie Sibley Newton, the host of Experience Cleveland County on C19 TV, on Spectrum Cable, and also online at C19.tv. This is a show all about community partners, organizations, and businesses coming together to make this a better community to live, work, and play. So watch us every other week on C19 TV.
Only 2 years until graduation. Then what? The Advanced Manufacturing Academy is a partnership between Cleveland County Schools and Cleveland Community College. It offers you, rising 11th graders, the chance to learn job skills, earn valuable credentials, and complete your high school studies all at the same time. By completing the Advanced Manufacturing Academy, you'll graduate high school ready to start work at way above minimum wage. Check out the Academy and give yourself a head start on a great future.
Let's get ready to rumble! I was saddened whenever somebody yelled at Lock Her Up when Hillary was introduced, and I just thought that was out of
That was uncalled.
Was that
She got
you,
tons-
Wayne?
No, it wasn't me, but I believe that she should be locked up.
Well, let's,
We're at the train wreck. Wes is right, and so that's
2 weeks in a row, he said I've
We're-
been right. I'm gonna have to do.
I tell you,
I'm gonna have to
Westmoreland's
reassess a
are
little bit
jihad
here.
to their-
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel Manning II. I actually got it out that time without stuttering and stumbling.
Much better this time.
A little better, yeah. Had to clear my throat just a little bit and do the to get the energy.
Tricks of the trade?
It is, yeah. Normally I sing but in the break. I do the la la la's, but I do it internally. You guys don't hear it. It's
I'm
internal.
glad we
singing.
don't hear it.
Good.
We probably don't need to hear it.
Internal singing. Zane Gray, Greg Tillman, and Tim Foster, all right here on Meet Me at the Movies, the special edition. This is the extended
What's so
dance.
special about it?
Because it's the extended dance remix version. We're
You're
going to have
gonna
some,
see like dance. You're gonna see people behind you.
Are you going to dance?
Yeah, no.
I can't dance.
Well, we'll say there was a lot of dancing in the movie Booksmart.
How's that for a segue?
How is that
He's
for a
pretty good,
segue?
isn't he?
Booksmart is this coming-of-age comedy, R-rated comedy, directed debut by Olivia Wilde, and it's about these two high school best friends. It's the last day of school, day before graduation, and all they've done their whole lives is try to get the best grades. They put everything else secondary. They've been friends, but everything else has just been pushed to the side. They've been kind of judgmental of everybody else, and all those who go out partying and do all this stuff that they would never consider doing, only to find out that they're all getting into the great schools as well. So they're getting into the Yales and the Harvards and everything else, and yet they partied and they've had a life outside of the classroom. So the story question that drives this is it too late for these two best friends to find life outside of the classroom? The last day of the school, can they go to a party and try to embrace
fit
all
in
that they
and-
can?
yeah.
And that's the thing that drives this. This really is coming of age. I thought it was perfectly cast. The character chemistry with all the cast was solid. This is one of those that will be remembered for years to come. if enough people get a chance to see it.
Great.
And that's the thing, not enough people are watching this movie right now. The box office numbers are pretty low on this. My son Thomas, you mentioned, he went to see it. He was the only one in the theater.
Wow.
I went to see it. I was the only one in the theater, but it's a movie that needs to be seen. It is an R-rated film, so it does have language, and the subject matter is definitely adult.
Would John Hughes be
I was
proud?
about to say, does
Yeah,
it have a John Hughes feel to it?
More of an adult John Hughes.
Okay.
I mean, it does take things a little bit to the extreme, and you know, but it fits, I think, this particular generation, this particular culture. A lot of SNL alums connected to this movie. Will Ferrell and Adam McKay produced the film.
Oh, okay.
And I got to say, Carrie Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, is in this, and she steals every single scene.
Really?
Every single scene, she just keeps popping up, and you can't keep your eyes off of her. She's funny, she's engaging, and there's just so much going on in this film. But it's deeper than just the comedy and the laughs. It's about the story and exploring kind of who you are and the choices that you make, facing regrets that you may have in life, defeating your fears, and letting go of the past, while also trying to let go of those judgments you have for others and seeing beyond the surface. Just a wonderful film. I just absolutely loved it. You know, I loved the way the friendships developed, and what you discover over the course of it is friendships can grow, they can change, but also you can make new friendships. So, you know, as these two are heading off to life after high school, everybody else is as well. And you're seeing how their stories unfold, but it's told through the eyes and the life of two. It's crazy, it's engaging, it's a perfectly edited film, and one of the things that I loved about it is they had a lot of these musical choices. Remember a few years ago, Baby Driver made heavy use of music as a supporting cast member. Booksmart does the same thing a little differently, but it does make use of music as this kind of creative support structure. Really love this film. Again, it is R-rated, but it does, I think, challenge youth and adults to kind of look beyond the basics of life and look beyond what we see someone who may look like or act like. There's something deeper there always. So an A- rating for me for Booksmart. Well worth checking out.
The characters sound a lot like Alex Dunphy if you watch Modern Family.
Yeah.
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 The
Yeah.
brainy
Yeah.
daughter.
They've got some of that. Yeah. Absolutely. So I recommend it. Booksmart, still in theaters, but going to be only a limited time because it's not going to be around long. So check it out if you are into that kind of thing. Well, you know, last week we had Memorial Day. Coming up, we've got the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, which really blows me away that it's the 75th anniversary. So I thought quickly we would kind of talk about some war films and some films that kind of stand out that are must-see war films. So Greg, since you've been talking a lot, why don't you dive in?
Patton.
Patton.
I've seen that so many times I can't count. George C. Scott's brilliant playing George Patton. It's more of a character study with a war and background to it. But what if Francis Ford Coppola wrote the script before anyone knew who he was, and it's just brilliant.
Yeah.
1970, I think.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
He was absolutely.
Oh, yes.
George C. Scott. Zane.
One that I think it got a lot of Oscar nominations the year it came out was Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Catherine Bigelow movie. I think it's this great behind-the-scenes exploration drama, an effective drama of how they caught and killed Osama bin Laden. I think Jessica Chastain is great.
Yeah.
It's got a huge ensemble cast. Now that I think about it, I think Mark Strong makes Kyle Chandler's in this thing. It's a great. I think it's one of my absolute favorite movies in general too. So that's getting a plug for that movie.
Wonderful film, wonderful film. When I think about D-Day, I can't help but think about my grandfather, who fought in World War II. He was part of the Normandy invasion. He was part of the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, he saw friends die, and you know, Saving Private Ryan, I've always got to mention because I remember watching that movie, and that was the film when I first felt like I had a glimpse into what my grandfather had experienced.
Right.
And I'd seen other war films before, but that one, with what Spielberg did with that, really just it made me feel a part of it.
Yeah.
And you know, I never looked at things the same way. I never looked at what my grandfather experienced the same way after seeing that. And he wouldn't talk about his war experiences until much later in life. And I got a chance to do a documentary on him, and he and my grandmother, and he shared his war stories, and they were just heartbreaking, you know, just heartbreaking. But Saving Private Ryan's on my list.
I was lucky enough years ago to visit Omaha Beach and to see how deep the beach itself is, and you can imagine how almost impossible it was to get from the water to safety. And it was a very moving experience. I'm going to go with a little different, the Civil War. Ken Burns' PBS documentary from the early 90s. No.
Like, that's a war movie?
Well, you know, maybe. It's brilliant. I mean, there's no other word. It's a masterpiece. And for people that are afraid of the thought of documentary, and particularly one made of still images and no video or film, moving film at all, no need to be afraid. It just pulls you right in. It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree completely. You have another?
Another one, Lone Survivor.
Okay.
Peter Berg film. I believe it had Mark Wahlberg, Taylor Kitsch.
Based on a true story?
Yeah.
I haven't seen this.
Really?
I haven't
You
heard
haven't seen
of
this
it.
one?
Yeah.
I think it's a bunch of U.S. Navy SEAls. They are somewhere in Afghanistan, somewhere out in the Middle East, and they're left in this, with a tricky situation. They come across like a family with goats or something, and they let them go, and then they go, and then those people send in the Taliban, if any case. I think they're looking for a certain Taliban, but that, you talk about a brutal war movie, that was really, just to see the...
Because they're basically trapped.
Exactly. It's just four guys of incredible odds, and so, yeah, that one really actually came to mind as I'm thinking about what's a great war movie.
Yeah, that was a really solid one. You need to check that one out.
Yeah.
One I'll mention, and you talk about Civil War, and this kind of spins off to that, Band of Brothers. The miniseries from HBO that had Spielberg and Hanks again producing.
Just as good as Saving Private Ryan, in my opinion.
You know, the first 3 episodes dealt with nothing but D-Day from various perspectives. And if you haven't seen Band of Brothers, highly recommend that.
Glory from the late 80s. I don't remember the year. Matthew Broderick, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington won his first Oscar for it.
Oh, man.
About a band of African-American freed slaves, I suppose, who fought in the Union Army.
Yeah.
That's another classic, I think.
And Denzel, the pain he suffered in that movie brought tears to anybody's eyes that had a heart.
Yeah.
You have another?
Just for the quick plug, American Sniper.
Okay, American Sniper. All right, good deal. American Sniper and Lone
Survivor.
Lone Survivor, not Lone Gunman. That's a whole other thing.
A lot of recent ones.
I want to mention this one just because I like Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, Lee Marvin, and Robert Carradine starred in the Big Red One in 1980. Samuel Fuller wrote and directed this film, and it's a film that I think flies under the radar. I don't think a lot of people have had a chance to really see it, and I highly recommend going back to check that out. Do you have another one?
Tora.
Oh, yeah.
The definitive Pearl Harbor film. Yep. Not the Pearl Harbor
Not the
from
Michael
a few
Bay
years
one.
ago. No.
Thank God.
Well, I will mention one more. This is from 1962. This is a 2-time Oscar winner with John Wayne, Sean Connery, Robert Mitchum, Rod Steiger, Henry Fonda, Red Buttons, Peter Lawford, and Eddie Albert, all in one film, The Longest Day. Also about the D-Day invasion from 1962. Well worth checking that one out as well. We appreciate you hanging out with us. We've talked about a lot. We've crammed a lot into this show. Zane, thanks for joining us. Zane Grey. We'll have him back at some point before life runs out for this show.
Hey,
and Greg Tillman.
Could be any day.
Greg Tillman, thank you, man. Tim Foster back on the Tim Cam, and Elvis Nomesley, his sidekick. We appreciate that. Movie quote of the week. We'll leave this. This comes from Mean Girls. You know, I'm kind of psychic. I have a 5th sense. Until next time, I'm Noel Zane II. That's all right.